This is the Process Shot. I'm Michael. I'm stuck in a haunted movie theater, and I've seen Casablanca, the classic romantic drama from 1942, directed by Michael Curtiz. Set during World War II, in the titular Moroccan city where refugees need more than luck to reach freedom, the story follows Rick, an American nightclub owner who remains neutral despite hosting clientele from either side of the war. Even after coming into possession of letters of transit, which would allow its holders unrestricted access across Europe, he remains unfazed. However, his outlook changes when Ilsa, his lover who disappeared shortly before they were to escape approaching forces, comes to visit his bar with her husband and renowned freedom fighter Laszlo, whose potential to escape occupied territory hastens German officials' efforts to arrest him. With the bitterness of Ilsa's earlier departure still with him, Rick must choose between remaining steadfast in his neutrality, no matter the consequences, or perhaps break away from this behavior and work towards something bigger than himself. There is a reason this is one of the most celebrated movies of all time, and I figure it's because of how tight the story is. It's a near-perfect example of how to build up the stakes of a situation over time, not only personally between people, but within a greater context, which, in this case, Rick must come to realize. There's a pretty smooth transition for this, foreshadowing it over time and building upon it through smaller actions, rather than having some sudden change after a single scene of dialogue for the sake of streamlining the story flow. The balance between the larger and smaller stories is also maintained extremely well, meshing the two plot lines together rather than moving back and forth as if they were written separately entirely. That much also helps out the characters, who are given clear motivations and roles within both stories, never really feeling out of place when involved in either of them, and always having something to do to keep everything in motion. Even small moments of dialogue made for the sake of world building have something to offer in the long run. The portrayal of these characters is also spectacular, finding a sort of realism within the melodrama and cutting into the emotional heart of their relationships, while letting the talents play up more explicit characteristics. That is, it becomes a bit of an element within the film that the changes that they go through end up being more subtle and almost undetectable until they have no choice but to move from staying back to stepping forward. As for the technical side of things, there is definitely a subtle element to the film's presentation and production as well, though it also doesn't shy away at all from making its world come alive. There's a great amount of life in many scenes, with bustling crowds and background action giving way to dynamic moments of tension, contrasted further by settings being emptied of those other characters and letting the resulting loneliness and intimacy settle in. Cinematography especially adds to this, being able to find a balance between the large crowds and the small moments without losing sight of either of them. In a way, this is a near-perfect illustration of the film's primary theme, in that there may be personal stories and conflicts that are important to those who are directly involved, and they may feel like the only thing that matters to them, but there's always going to be some other point of view to put things in a newer perspective, whether it be from a story smaller than their own, or from a vantage point that brings everybody together into one greater context. Casablanca, Michael Curtiz, 1942. 4.5 stars. I definitely recommend watching it yourself. That's it for this review. If you liked it, leave a like. If you have something to add, leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews. You know, I didn't even talk about the romantic aspects of the movie. The chemistry between Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman was excellent. Hell, the chemistry between everybody was great. Honestly, there's a lot more I could say about the movie. It's just that good. I don't know, I guess I'm just